So December 3rd, 1999, we went home that night, and about 11:30 at night, we got a call from Hal's good friend, Jeremy, and he had indicated that Hal had been in a car accident.
So the night of Hal's accident, we were at a conference and we were coming back from it. He gets in the car, I get in my car, and we head out. He got ahead of me and I caught a red light.
Hal was driving about 65 miles per hour.
The drunk driver was going 80 miles an hour.
Someone crossed the median and hit them head on. His Ford Mustang spun around and the oncoming driver T-boned him.
There was like all this debris in the middle of the freeway. And my buddy looks out the window and says, I think there was a Mustang on the side of the road. I was like, dude, I couldn't even tell. And as I kind of started driving, he's like, no, man, I think that was Hal's Mustang.
When I talked to Jeremy, I told him to tell Hal that we loved him and, that he had to hang in there and that, we were all coming.
The fire department, everyone showed up. They had to cut through the car to have to pull him out. His heart had stopped for about 6 to 7 minutes.
I remember walking through the door, and it was like they'd been waiting for us. And there was whispers, and it was like the Elrods are here, and then we were rushed into a room.
The damage that was done to his body was horrific. They did not expect him to live through the weekend.
He's probably not going to be able to hear because of the damage to his ear. He might not be able to see because he had shattered bones around his eye. He'll never walk again.
There was so much brain trauma, and they told us that, he would be a vegetable.
I think he was in a coma for about a week.
First, it was like, say goodbye. Then they were like, oh, looks like he might make it, sort of.
We knew he was alive inside. His brain was still working. He wasn't a vegetable, and he woke up the next day talking.
When Hal woke up, his short-term memory was completely impacted. So it was like Groundhog's Day every day. I remember one time he's like, did I get in a plane crash? And I think we went with that story for a little while. I was like, tomorrow we'll retell the real story again, And he took his first step, and it was just another one of those things where people were just shocked at how fast he was coming back.
He just defied everything the doctors said. We laughed through all of it. Which is, you always kind of found humor, and I think that helped him survive.
When Hal got out of the hospital 4 months later, his high school principal called and he said, I know this is crazy, but he goes, do you think Hal would speak to the student body? And so that was the start, really, of Hal's speaking career.
I just feel like Hal had another purpose. He wasn't done yet. I still believe that now. It was a miracle.
Good morning, everybody. Morning. It is so good to be here. You ever had some fun? All right, I have nothing fun planned for us. I apologize. But we'll have some fun. But what this is really about is setting y'all up for your best year ever in 2024. But more than that, it's setting you up for your best life. Lower this a little bit. Oh, sorry about that. Your best life, and not just your best year. And my take on this is that your best life starts every morning, one morning at a time. And that most people, there's one of two camps. Either you wake up because you have to, or you wake up because you want to. And most of us wake up because we have to. And we're all guilty of this, right? Where you literally look at your schedule and you're like, okay, what time do I have to be somewhere, do something, or answer to somebody else? How long will it take me to get ready for that? How many times do I want to hit the snooze button, right? And then that's when we set our alarm. It's literally the last possible minute to not have our business fall apart, our marriage fall apart, our children taken away from us, right? I call it a mediocre morning. And then there's this other group of folks that wake up before they have to wake up. And they dedicate the first part of their day to becoming a better version of themselves, a better version of who they were when they went to bed the night before. And if you dedicate the first part of your day to becoming the best version of yourself, then you show up as the best version of yourself to the day. And that's how you create the most extraordinary life you can imagine, is one morning at a time, one day at a time. And it just so happens that real estate agents, I've never been one, but I have a lot of friends that are real estate agents, and it happens to be the group that is arguably the largest segment of the population that are Miracle Morning practitioners. In fact, one of the first books I ever wrote after the Miracle Morning was the Miracle Morning for Real Estate Agents, which I know got you. How many of you got the real estate agent book? I know they have it in the back. Awesome. So you see on the screen, this is for taking your lives and careers to the next level in 2024. And I want to start with this quote from Robin Sharma. Robin said, one of the saddest things in life is to wake up one day and realize you could have been, done, and had so much more, and then look back and regret wondering why you didn't. And sadly, this is, if we're honest, this is the story for a large, probably the majority of our population, is that we all have this unlimited potential. And we have this innate drive and desire within us to live to our full potential. But the conflict, the inner conflict that we all face, is human nature is not to do that. So there's this innate drive and desire to fulfill our potential, but human nature is to do the minimum needed to survive. Think about that. Let's go back thousands of years, right? We weren't around during that time, but you could imagine, go back to like the hunter-gatherer times, right? Well, the only time you really got out there and worked really hard is if you had to go, feed your family. Maybe if you go hunt the buffalo. But once you kill the buffalo, you're not competing with other hunters to see who's the best on the leaderboard, right? You're not trying to create financial freedom thousands of years ago. Our innate, old school human nature is to do the minimum needed to survive. And then once you capture the buffalo, you just sit and relax. So if right now in your life, right, it's a different world that we live in, and you have goals and dreams that you want to achieve, then we have to override our human nature to do the minimum needed to get by. And we've got to tap into that innate drive and desire to fulfill our potential. So what Robin said, one of the saddest things in life is to get to the end of your life and look back with regret. One day, when's one day? I think one of the saddest things in life is to wake up every single day and to know that you're capable of extraordinary things, of limitless potential, and accept less than that. So my question for you is, why did you wake up this morning? What was it, the want to, or was it the have to category? Right? Again, for most of us, we wake up when we have to be somewhere, we have to do something, we have to answer to somebody else. And if left to our own devices, AKA the weekend, right, we sleep in as long as we possibly can. And by the way, I believe that was caused, if you will, by our childhood. Think about this. When we were kids growing up, why did we get out of bed ever? For school. We had accountability. Our mom and dad forced us against our will to get out of bed. For most kids, why did you eat vegetables? Because you had accountability. Your parents forced you to eat the vegetables or you couldn't leave the table. As a kid, why did you bathe? Because you had accountability. Your parents said, you have to bathe. Why did you go to bed at a decent hour? Because your parents forced you to. So think about that. As we were kids and our brains were developing, we were growing up being forced to do things that were really good for us, but that we didn't want to do. So we developed this resistance and rebellion against doing things that are good for us. And instead, we embraced freedom to do whatever we wanted. And I think that once we turned 18 and we left the house, for most of us, I know for me, it was this downward spiral into bad choices, right? Like, when I was in college, I ate Jack in the Box every day. My parents never would let me eat Jack in the Box. I ate Jack in the Box every day. I stayed up till 2, 3, 4 in the morning playing PlayStation, right? Like I did the minimum I needed to do to just get decent grades and get by. And this whole miracle morning concept is about all of us taking a step back and looking at our life and asking ourselves, what level of success do I want in every single area? Really, what level do I really want? And when I say success, it's how you define it. It's fulfillment, it's achievement, it's however you define success. But if we're being honest, on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the most happy and healthy and wealthy and in love you could possibly be at a level 10, and level 1 being, the worst life could be. In every area of life, what level do we all want? 10, right? I've never met anyone that's like, I don't want to be too happy. Like I know some people that are so happy it's annoying. Like I don't want to be that kind of happy, right? Like I don't want too much money. I don't want like my cousins calling me for loans. Like I don't want to deal with that. I'll accept like a 7 or a 6. No, every single one of us would like for life, our health, our relationships, our finances, every area of life to be at a level 10. And so the miracle morning, in essence, it's not about waking up super early. It's about dedicating the first part of your day, even if it's only 10 minutes, the first part of your day to becoming the best version of yourself so that you can become the level 10 version of yourself in terms of your mindset and your habits and your skills and your abilities and your knowledge, to first take yourself to a level 10, and then your level of success, you find parallels your level of personal development. Here's the 3 things that today is designed to help you do. If you want to look at the screen, number 1, optimize your mental and emotional state, right? What do we all want? We all want to feel good. We want to be happy. That's why we do what we do. Why do we do what we do? We make any decision because of how the decision we believe will make us feel. Every decision from going to work to watching Netflix to ordering something on Amazon.com, right? Oh, I'm bored. I want to feel different. I grab my phone. Everything we do is to feel good. So how do you optimize your mental and emotional state? Not just when life is great, because that's easy. When life's going good and everything's great and everything's flowing, it's easy to, your default state is great because life's great. But life's not always great. There's often challenges. And right now, obviously, we're all facing collectively, there's the economic challenges potentially that are on the horizon or that are here. And how do we optimize our mental and emotional state so that nothing outside of us determines how we feel inside? I think that's the ultimate superpower, where you literally wake up and you go, how do I want to feel today? Happy, confident, motivated, inspired, connected, driven, how do I want to feel? And then you get to literally choose your optimal mental and emotional state and use your miracle morning to reinforce it and then actualize it. And that's what we're going to talk about today. One of the pieces of today will be, how do you use your miracle morning to optimize your mental and emotional state, even in the midst of the worst circumstances you could ever face or anything in between. Number 2, create your miracle morning ritual. Now, by a show of hands, I want to assess the room. How many of you already consider yourself to be a morning person? Show of hands. Well, your hand was up. What's your name? Jamie's hand was up before. Say, I know where he's going. All right, keep up again. If you're a morning person, raise your hand. Okay, all right, wow, probably a little over half. And then if you're not a morning person, where are my night owls? Okay, all right. No shame, you guys. Don't shame the night owl. No, just kidding. All right, so I will tell you this. When I created the miracle morning, I was not a morning person. I didn't consider myself to be a morning person. And here's an interesting statistic that's important to know, especially for anyone that does not consider themselves to be a morning person, doesn't think they can become a morning person, or doesn't even want to consider it. I was asked once during an interview a few years ago, the interviewer said, Hal, what percentage of miracle morning practitioners around the world were already morning people before they read the book? So this was easy. This was like, oh, cool. Instead of checking email at 6 a.m., I'll do the miracle morning, right? Or instead of starting the day on social media, I'll do the miracle morning. I'm already up early, no problem. And he said, and what percentage of miracle morning practitioners that do it regularly now had never been a morning person before they read the book. And I said, that is a phenomenal question that I should absolutely know the answer to, and I have no idea. But ever since then, we've surveyed the global Miracle Morning community, hundreds of thousands of people. Every time we send an email out, that's always a question on a survey. Were you a morning person before you read the book, so it was easy to transition? Or had you never been a morning person before and maybe didn't believe you could become one? And it's 72% of current Miracle Morning practitioners said they had never in their life been a morning person or thought they could become one before they read the book. So you are in good company if you are not a morning person. And then number 3 is achieving that level 10 success we spoke of in every area of life. When I started doing the Miracle Morning, I became obsessed with, anybody familiar with the Wheel of Life exercise? Right, so imagine like a pie chart where there's like 10 areas of life, like family and health and fitness and finances and spirituality, right? So you got like a little pie chart. And then you rate yourself, where am I? Where's my level of success and fulfillment in each of these areas on a scale of 1 to 10? You know, maybe fitness, you haven't been exercising, and right, maybe you're not, you're like, oh, I'm like a 4 right now, you know. Maybe finances are going great, you know, and it's like, all right, I'm a 7 here. Maybe your marriage is awesome, like a 9. Me and my spouse are connected more than ever. As a parent, I'm a 9. I'm doing great. Right? So you rate yourself in these areas. And when I started that exercise, I became obsessed with identifying what is a level 10 for me this year in each of these 10 areas. And then that's how I set my goals. Went, okay, a level 10 for me this year, not like in terms of my full potential for the rest of my life, but this year level 10 would be blank. And that's how I decided to run an ultra marathon, by the way, that Chris had mentioned in my intro. I hated running. Anybody else hate running? Where are my hate runners? Hate running. Not hate runners, hate running, different. Nothing wrong with runners, we love running. Yeah, but I hated running my whole life. And so as I was assessing my goals, I'm like, what would a level 10 be in fitness? And I had 2 friends that had run ultra marathons, and I thought they were crazy. But then I was like, well, wait a minute. If another human being can do something, I think one of the most important beliefs that we can adopt is that if another human being can do something, not they're different than us, or they're better than us, or they're younger, they have more motivation or experience. No, that's simply evidence of what's possible for all of us. And so I thought, even though I've never run more than a mile, and that was in high school PE class when they forced me to, and I hated it, right? You guys know what I'm talking about. I thought that would be level 10 for me. And I know it's possible. I don't know how, but I thought, I just imagined the person I'd have to become, like mentally, physically, emotionally, to achieve that goal, that would be a level 10. And so I set the goal, and I'll talk more about it later, but completed that goal. But that's what I'm talking about with achieving level 10 success in every area of your life. All right, so if y'all are ready to dive in, say we're ready. Nice. Chris, that was that vision that you had of like yeah, okay. All right, so part 1, how to optimize your mental and emotional state. If you look at the screen, you'll see this is the definition of, I call this emotional enlightenment. And it's the ability to choose one's optimal emotional state in any set of circumstances. Again, I think it's one of the ultimate superpowers that is available to all of us. And you're going to know exactly how to implement this by the end of our time together today. So my first wake-up call, y'all saw this in the video. Hit head-on by a drunk driver at 70 miles per hour. Now, I don't know if they said this, but I broke 11 bones on the left side of my body in that car accident. So the femur, the biggest bone in the human body, it broke in half. My arm broke in 2 pieces. I shattered my elbow. My ear was, anyway, I won't go into, some of you are screaming. A lot of injuries. And it's one of those things that you never imagine happening to you, right? Like you see this on TV or on the news, and your heart goes out to the person or the family, but you don't ever think it would happen to you. And then I wake up from a coma, and I'm groggy, I'm dazed and confused. I had brain damage, so my memory wasn't good, and I didn't know how I got there or why I was there. And of course, my doctors, my parents, they're there and telling me what I went through. And then eventually they start unveiling the consequences. That how, I don't know how many days it was later, but it's, the doctors say you might never walk again. You might be in a wheelchair the rest of your life. It's like, that's hard news to hear at any age. At age 20, I had a lot of goals that involved walking, right? But I had to process all of this. And so if you can just imagine, I'm just gonna, just for the best you can do, imagine that scenario where you wake up in a hospital and you're told you're never gonna walk again, you've got broken bones, right? I've got my ears bandaged, my eyes bandaged, my legs up in a sling, my arms in a sling, and you're getting this devastating news. Well, I had to process it, right? What does this mean? What is my life gonna be like if I'm in a wheelchair the rest of my life? I have permanent brain damage. Like, what's it gonna be like to have no short-term memory? And in the hospital, by the way, I mean, literally, I would forget from minute to minute to minute. You could even come visit me for 3 hours in the morning, go to lunch and come back, and I wouldn't remember that you were there. So it was really, really apparent that I had brain damage. And as far as permanent brain damage, my wife and kids will vouch, yes, very much so. Yeah, so my wife is a saint, by the way. She is a saint. So a week after I came out of the coma, the doctors called my parents in for an update. They sat them down and they said, Hal is stable. He should be with us for a long time. That was the most important news for my mom and dad at that time, right? Like, I had flatlined actually twice more during the coma. So I was dead at the scene, but I had my heart stopped beating, and the buzzer went off or whatever, and parents were kicked out of the room. So they had gone through a lot. Not to mention, I would have been their second child to die. My sister Amory died when I was 8 years old, and she was 18 months old. So my parents had already been through the worst experience. Now their youngest had died. Now they're getting close to their oldest. So the doctor said, Hal's in stable condition. He should be with us for a long time, live a long, healthy life. My parents were grateful. They said, but we're concerned with Hal's mental and emotional state. We believe he is in denial or delusional because he's always smiling. And they said he's always happy and he's telling jokes and making us laugh and he's laughing. And they go, that's not normal. For an accident victim that's being told at 20 years old, he's never going to walk again, he's got broken bones, on and on. And they said, however, it's not unheard of. It's actually there was a name for it, I think, but it's a response where when an accident victim, their reality is so unimaginable, they just check out for as long as they can. They're like, no, I can't handle this. And they just distract themselves with whatever, humor, drugs, alcohol, whatever they can. And that's what the doctor said. If they said, we're concerned because right now he's in a controlled environment. But when he gets out in the real world and this trauma is still with him, he will potentially turn to drugs, alcohol, possibly even suicide. So we need to help him work through how he's really feeling, not bypass or suppress his emotions, and really get to the bottom of how he's really feeling. And the doctor said he should be sad, scared, angry, depressed. These are the normal emotions to feel. So they said they sent my mom and dad on a mission to get to the bottom of how I was really feeling. And so I'm laying in my hospital bed and watching Oprah for inspiration, true story, right? Again, my legs in a sling, my arms in a sling, one eye's bandaged because I broke all 3 bones around my eye socket. And I'm watching Oprah, and my dad comes and sits by me, and he says, Hal, hey, can I talk to you for a minute? Can you turn off the TV? And I look over at him, and his face is red, and his eyes are swollen, and he's like trying not to cry. And I turned off the TV, and I knew he had met with the doctor, so I was a little concerned. Uh-oh, what did they tell him? I said, Dad, what happened in there? And he said, no, Hal, you're in great condition. They said that you're stable now. You've made it through the worst. I'm like, oh, thank goodness. He said, but they're concerned with your mental and emotional state. What do you mean? And he explained what he was talking about. And I didn't get up, by the way. This is for the people in the back. I didn't want, it was a miracle. No, so I was still in the hospital bed, and he said, how are you really feeling, Hal? I know that when your friends are here, you're all laughing, and I had a lot of visitors, and he said you're laughing and you're reminiscing and you're telling stories and you're joking. He said, but like at night when the lights go out and it's just you and your thoughts and you're thinking about never walking again or the things doctors are telling you, it's okay to be, he goes, can't imagine how you would feel, but it's okay to be sad or scared or angry or depressed. How are you really feeling? And I looked at my dad and I really went inside and I asked myself, am I sad? Little. Am I scared? Not really. Seems like the worst is behind me. Am I depressed? Definitely not. Angry? No. And I looked at my dad. I said, Dad, I thought you knew me better than that. He said, what do you mean? I said, remember I lived my life by the 5-minute rule? He said, will you remind me what that is? I said, I've told you and Mom this so many times, you'd be so much happier if you would just listen to me. And I explained to him the 5-minute rule is something I learned in my Cutco sales training a year and a half prior. Anybody familiar with Cutco? Yes, some Cutco fans? All right. So I had started selling Cutco a year and a half prior. In fact, I was giving a speech at the Cutco conference right that night that I had my car accident. And the 5-minute rule, I learned it, and this is one of, by the way, the most important lessons I've ever learned. So really tune into this, okay? This is like immediately life changing. And the 5-minute rule simply says that it's okay to be negative when something goes wrong, but there's no value in dwelling on it for an extended period of time. So my mentor essentially taught me, he said, when you're in sales, AKA real estate, he said, it's a microcosm for life's adversity, meaning the average person occasionally experiences rejection. Occasionally. He said, in sales, you're going to get rejected every single day. Okay, and I'm 19 when I'm learning this, right? I'm going, I don't know if I want to do this anymore. He said, the average person fails occasionally, like maybe once a year, they don't reach their goals for the year. He said, as a salesperson, you're going to fail all the time. You're going to have a goal for the day and you're not going to hit it. You're going to hit your goal and then your customer is going to cancel their order. In this case, back out of escrow, right? Right? And you're like, you've already celebrated. You've already spent the money in your mind, right? You pop the champagne and then, wait, you're what? What? No, you can't. No, right? So he said, you need a strategy to quickly move through adversity and optimize, he didn't say this word, but I would call it optimize your mental and emotional state, even when things are going wrong, so you can just keep moving forward and be genuinely at peace with the things you can't change and happy, excited, focused on moving forward. And so he said the 5-minute rule, you set your timer for 5 minutes when something goes wrong. Customer cancels an order. Customer doesn't show up to an appointment that you were really looking forward to. Didn't hit your goal for the week, whatever it is. Or you hit traffic. He goes, this isn't just in sales. In life, you get bad news. You hit traffic when you're running late. He said, you set your timer for 5 minutes and you give yourself 5 minutes to fully feel the emotions that come up. Bitch, moan, complain, cry, vent, punch a wall, whatever you got to do. Don't suppress your emotions. Don't be like, no, I don't have time for that. I'm busy. No. Feel your emotions fully. He said, but when the timer goes off after 5 minutes, you say 3 very powerful words. Can't change it. It's a simple but profound acknowledgement that, okay, I can't change what happened 5 minutes ago. So right now I have a choice. I can continue dwelling on it, wishing it didn't happen, resisting reality, and being upset. That's choice one. And many of us do that indefinitely. Many of us are suffering over something that happened not just 5 minutes ago, but 5 days ago, or 5 weeks ago, or 5 years ago, or 5 decades ago. Many of us suffer from childhood trauma because possibly no one ever told us that there's a much better way, that there's a way out of it. So first choice is I can continue to suffer, wishing this thing that I can't change, we're different. Or I can accept it fully. If I can't change it, the only logical choice I have if I really want to be at peace and move forward is to accept my reality exactly as it is. And there's a very important distinction here. This doesn't mean you're happy about what happened 5 minutes ago. But it's far more powerful than that. Because see, happiness is an emotion. Over here you have these positive emotional states: happiness, excitement, gratitude, joy. We're always trying to go in that direction. And over here you have your negative emotional states, your painful states, such as fear and anger and sadness and regret and resentment and hate and frustration and, right, annoyance, all of it. And we spend most of our life avoiding these states and chasing these states. The problem is emotional states are fleeting, right? You could be happy and then you get a phone call with bad news. You go, hey, let's go. What? No, right now you're distraught. But then you find out you win the lottery. Well, now you're happy, right? So we're just going back and forth between these short-lived emotional states. But here's the powerful, this is the power of accepting life as it is. In between positive emotional states and painful emotional states are states of consciousness. And a state of consciousness is an underlying, ever-present way of being. Meaning, when you accept life as it is, it doesn't mean you're happy about things when they go wrong. But again, it's far more powerful. You're at peace with life. You're not wishing it were different. You're at peace. And peace is emotionally neutral. I'll give you an example. How many of you don't like traffic? Show of hands if you don't love traffic. Okay. This alone is worth the price of admission, y'all. So I used to not like traffic. It's normal, right? So imagine that we need to be somewhere in 20 minutes, okay? And we're rushed out, just barely got out the door. Like, if everything goes perfect, we'll make it on time. Maybe got 1 minute to spare. You're going, oh gosh, okay, oh please, no traffic, right? Right? You're already resisting a reality that's not even happened yet. No traffic. And then you hit bumper to bumper traffic. And now instead of being in the car for 20 minutes that you needed to be right on time, you'd say now you're in there for 30 or 40. How do you spend those 30 or 40 minutes in that car? Are you at peace? Are you joyful? No. Why? Because we're resisting reality. Wishing we weren't in traffic. Wishing the cars would go faster, right? We're like writing like that does anything, right? And think about it. We spend 30 to 40 minutes just stressed out, tense. We're probably literally shortening our lifespan in every traffic jam we hit. And here's the cool thing. This is the exciting part. It has nothing to do with the traffic. It has to do with we resist our reality. And one of the most important parts of this lesson is to understand that every painful emotion that you have ever experienced in your life and that you could ever experience for the rest of your life, every painful emotion is self-created by our resistance to our reality. In other words, our wishing and wanting that something were different that can't be different. It's not different. It's what it is. And so that choice, either I resist it and create emotional pain for myself, or I accept it, choose to be at peace. And again, peace is not an emotion. It's emotionally neutral. It's a state of consciousness. When you're at peace, you're just, I can't change that there's traffic. I'm going to be late. Either way, my client might not do business with me, right? There might be a negative consequence, but I can't change it. So now I get to choose. Am I going to be miserable over something I can't change, or am I going to be completely at peace over something I can't change? Those are your choices. And once you understand this and you use that 5-minute rule to give you 5 minutes to process it, like, okay, I'm frustrated, but I can't change it. So the only thing I can do is accept it and be at peace, right? You work your way through it. And I'll tell you this, if any of you are thinking what I was thinking when I learned this from my mentor, 5 minutes to get over it, you got to be kidding me. I need more than 5 minutes. I'm not going to get over something just because my timer goes off after 5 minutes. And I'll tell you, the first time I used the can't change it philosophy, I drove out to this woman's house. She was out in the boonies. It was like my second day on the job. And she was 45 minutes, way, way farther than I would normally drive. I'm like, man, this better be a good appointment. She's way out here. And I get out to her house, and there's a note on the door. It says, "We don't want any knives!" exclamation point. And I grabbed the note, and I was like, are you kidding me? And I got in my car, I set the note and my phone, and I set the timer for 5 minutes. And I was just stewing in my head. I was like, what? How rude. Like, she has my phone number, and she let me waste an hour and a half of my day to drive to her house to read a Post-it note on her door. You know, and now I can't schedule, like, I needed that appointment. And now I'm never going to make that up. I can't make up that money. Right? I was resisting reality, focusing on things that I couldn't change. And the timer went off. It felt like it was 5 seconds, right? And I was like, I'm still mad, snooze, right? You know, and I'm like, oh, it's like, I can't, the lady's so rude. You know, and it went off again, snooze, right? And I'm just frustrated. And so I felt vindicated. Like, see, I knew 5 minutes wasn't enough time. But within about a week or two, I think it was 2 weeks actually, something profound happened. I did this every day, the 5-minute timer. And every day, I'd kind of start to work through the emotions a lot faster and get to peace a lot faster. And the timer would go off after 5 minutes, and I'd go, all right, can't change it. I might as well accept it and move on, be at peace. And I kind of felt empowered, like, whoa, I'm kind of in control here. No longer do outside forces determine my mental and emotional well-being. I kind of get to just, after 5 minutes, accept it. And here's where the profound transformation happened. It was my second Sunday on the job, so 2 full weeks. It was the night before orders were due. I was $2,000 away from my goal for the week. And the biggest Cutco set is $750 at the time. So I had 2 appointments, and I would have to sell 3 of those sets to hit my goal. Not very likely. But I was like, I'm going to try. I'm going to go for it. I go to the first appointment, no sales. She buys nothing. I'm like, can't change it. 5-minute timer. I'm frustrated, right? Go to the next appointment. My last appointment for the week ends up buying $2,300. My biggest order ever. She got 3 sets. One for her, one for their guest house, and one for her mom. And I'm on cloud 9. I'm like, I can't believe it. I called Jesse, my manager, on the way home, the guy that taught me the 5-minute rule, right? I said, Jesse, I just sold $2,300 to this woman. It was amazing. She loved Cutco. Her mom had Cutco, I guess, when they were growing up. It was the best appointment. I'm on cloud 9. I'm going on. And he said, Hal, not only did you hit your goal for the week, that made you #1 in the office. We'll recognize you at Wednesday's team meeting in front of everybody on the team, 50 sales reps. I'm 19 at this point. I've never accomplished anything in my life that I've gotten recognized for, except detention. I got the most hours of detention at my high school of anyone. True story. So I call my parents. I'm like, Mom and Dad, I'm the #1 rep in the Fresno Cutco office for the week. They're going to recognize me. You guys got to come to the meeting. And then I spend the next few hours. I'm just floating on cloud 9. And then 9:03 p.m., my phone rings. Answer. Hey, hello. And it's the woman I saw earlier that day. And she tells me that her husband came home, and he was super pissed that she bought $2,000 of knives, and very upset. And so she's had to cancel the order. And I'm begging. I'm like, no, you 15-day money back guarantee. Try it out with him for 2 weeks. I'm sure he'll love it. And she's like, no, it's done. So I hang up the phone. So much worse than the lady that just didn't show up at the appointment, right? Now I just got everything that I wanted taken away from me. So I set my timer for 5 minutes, and I go, no, how could that happen? I can't believe she canceled her order. She loved those knives. Her husband would have loved those knives. Oh, what am I going to do? All I can do is, accept it and wake up tomorrow and make more calls and try again next week. And then I picked up my phone. Keep in mind, this is after 2 weeks of the 5-minute rule. So I was practicing. I had 4 minutes and 32 seconds left on my timer. And I was like, well, wait, what's the point of being upset for 4.5 more minutes? when I could just say, can't change it now, and accept it, and like go watch TV and have a great night. And y'all, that was one of the most life-changing realizations, to go, not only is 5 minutes enough time, maybe not at first, like when you start, you might need to snooze a few times, to be fair. But not only is it enough time, it's a waste of time to waste my precious life being upset over something I can't change. So I told my dad a much shorter version of that, back to the hospital, right? It wasn't that profound of a lesson. But I said, Dad, look, I live by the 5-minute rule. It's been 2 weeks since the car accident. I can't change that I was in a car accident. I can't change that I broke 11 bones. I can't change that I have permanent brain damage. And I can't change if I end up being in a wheelchair the rest of my life. I said, so what's the point in being sad, scared, angry, and depressed when I can choose to just be at peace? And from that place, I can be grateful that I'm still alive, and grateful that I have you and Mom, and grateful that I have an entire future ahead of me to do anything that I want to. And I said, Dad, you go back and tell the doctors, I have decided that if I'm in a wheelchair the rest of my life, I will be the happiest, most grateful human being that you've ever seen in a wheelchair. Because I'm in a wheelchair either way. So what's the point of being miserable living my life in a wheelchair when I can be genuinely happy living my life in a wheelchair? It's all right, it's good. Can't change it. Hey, can't change it, right? Everybody set your timers for 5 minutes. Just kidding. I've actually had people yell that at me when I mess up on stage in the presentation after this point, and I'm like, oh no, they're like, can't change it, Hal. I'm like, thank you. So where was I? Permanent brain damage. Happy, well, thank you. Yeah, I'll be the happiest person in a wheelchair. And so my question for you, what's your name, by the way? Jonathan, thank you. What's your wheelchair? That's my question for you. I want you all to think about this. What is your wheelchair? What are the experiences in your life? It could be past or present. Something that you went through in the past that still just irks you or hurts you, or something you're going through right now that it's keeping you up at night. And you, like most of us, like me, like all people, we were conditioned to point our finger and blame something or someone for the way we feel on the inside. Right? Like if I was in a wheelchair the rest of my life, people would have been like, yeah, no, of course you're upset. You're in a wheelchair. You got hit by a drunk driver. It's not your fault. I could have blamed, but that doesn't help me. That just hurts me. And so what's your wheelchair? What's that experience in your life, past or present, that causes you emotional pain? And how might you apply this way of thinking, this way of accepting the things you can't change? And not necessarily being super happy about the negative aspects of life, but being more powerfully totally at peace. And that might be another person, by the way, right? We often think about that. What causes pain in our relationships? Wishing the other person was different than they are. Is it not? And of course, the way they make you feel, because they are the way they are, you blame on them. Of course I feel this way. You did this to me. You said this. You never take out the trash. You never do this, right? I wish so bad that you were different. It is our wishing and wanting that something or someone were different that causes all of our emotional pain. And we are 100% in control of our mental and emotional state. And it starts by accepting reality exactly as it is. Letting go of resisting reality and wishing it were different. Now, by the way, it doesn't mean that you don't change things in your life that you can change. It's the serenity prayer, right? Do I have that? I used to have that wristband. Right? God grant me I always mess it up. Accept the things I cannot change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference, right? So everything I just talked about really falls back to that serenity prayer. Now, I don't have a graph that shows you all that the fact that I accepted my life exactly as it was, and I chose to be at peace with it and not be distraught and not be upset and not be angry and not be scared, which, by the way, there's a lot of science that shows that those types of emotions are detrimental to our physical well-being, right? And I don't have a graph that shows you that as I focused on the positive, my body healed. But I have this picture. And it was 3 weeks after the crash, 1 week after that conversation that I had with my dad, telling him to go tell the doctors that I was at peace, which, by the way, when he went back and told them all that, I think they thought I was even more delusional, right? They're like, yeah, your son's really lost it. But it wasn't delusional. It was like, no, I can't change it, so I might as well be at peace and be happy. Like, it's a simple choice for me. 1 week later, the doctors came in with routine x-rays, and they said, we don't know how to explain this, Hal. I know we said you might never walk again, but we're going to let you take your first step today in therapy if you're up for it. Your body is healing at a remarkable rate. And that picture was taken. My therapist, Bob, wheeled me up in my wheelchair. I took my first step, and the rest is kind of history, as they say. Thank you. I received that. Thank you. So the 3 words that unlock the door to emotional enlightenment are can't change it. And so whether it takes you 5 minutes to get there, right? Or you snooze a couple times, and now you're at 15 minutes, right? Or you get to the point where after you do this for a few days and weeks, you're going to go, oh, wow, I can actually catch myself. As soon as I start to get upset over something I can't change, you'll go, wait, I can't change this. I don't have to go there. Because think about that. We are trained, conditioned, I should say, it's a better word. We are conditioned at a subconscious level to respond to things the way we respond. We're like robots. I mean, we literally, when you hit traffic, you pretty much probably respond the same way every time. It's not like each time you hit traffic, it's a totally unique response, right? You have your way of responding. So what happens is after you do the 5-minute rule, what it does is it gives you 5 minutes to respond the way you respond. It's not asking you to just instantly change. It gives you space to feel your feelings, but be thoughtful and conscious and aware that this timer is counting down. And eventually I'm going to get to a place of saying can't change it and accepting it and being at peace. Quick story. This picture on the screen is of a 27-year-old woman that I spoke to probably 10 years ago. It's been a while. And she emailed me this picture about a week or two after I spoke at an event that she was at. And I'll paraphrase her email. She said, Hal, when I was 17 years old, my dad committed suicide. And I've spent the last 10 years sad, angry, depressed, right? All of the things that my doctor thought I would be feeling. She said, I've felt all those feelings. And I started to get angry when you said that every painful emotion that we've experienced is self-created. I thought, how dare you? My dad died when I was 17. And you're telling me it's my fault that I'm upset over it? So the more I listened to you, the more it started to make sense. And I got one of your little can't change it wristbands after your speech. I don't have those anymore, by the way, for anyone wanting. I got the can't change it wristband. And she said, I've worn it every day since then. And the last week or so is the first time in 10 years that I actually realized I can be at peace with my dad's death, that it no longer has to run my life and my mental and emotional state and make me feel horrible. She said, in fact, yesterday was the 10-year anniversary of his death. And I went and got the words can't change it permanently tattooed into my wrist as a reminder that I can't change that he died, but I can choose how I feel about his death. I can choose to be at peace. I can choose how I live my life. And she said, I've decided to replace the memory of my father. Instead of it causing me pain, now I choose gratitude. And this tattoo, when I look at it, I smile. And I thank God for my dad because I'm here because of him and nothing will ever change that. And I share that story because outside of my example, this is an example of someone who lost her father at 17 years old, spent 10 years being depressed over that, understandably. And within a matter of days, by applying what I just shared with you all, was able to be completely at peace and let go of all those painful emotions that she had felt for a decade. And if she can do it, and if I can do it, you can do it, and apply it to any or every area of your life. This is a little summary. If you want to take a picture of this screen, just 3 steps to emotional enlightenment. One is the 5-minute rule. Like I said, that's your buffer. Give yourself space to process what happened to you and feel the feelings that come up naturally so that you can fully experience and express them and then transcend them. Number 2, can't change it. Get there when you can. And number 3 is choose your optimal state. And that's what we're going to transition into the Miracle Morning for. Because what I just taught you is really about getting to peace. It's getting that emotional, neutral state of, I'm at peace. I can't change it. Great. Now, how do you want to feel? What's the state that would best serve you to create everything that you want for your life? And this is how to create your miracle morning that will enable you to do that. Now, quick question. Anybody know who Robert Kiyosaki is? Show of hands. Put him high. Oh, wow. Less than I would think. So Robert, anybody heard of the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad? Okay, there you go. So Robert wrote the book Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I'm a big fan of Robert's. I read his book many years ago. I had the opportunity to speak at an event that he was speaking at. I was the warm-up act and he was the headliner, right? Which I was honored to be on stage with him. And after the speech, I got to have dinner with him. And I brought a copy of The Miracle Morning. This was 2015, by the way, 8 years ago. You know, self-published book, had just come out. And I wrote a note, you know, telling Robert he changed my life. And I had it under the dinner table because I was nervous to give it to him. And I was talking myself out of it. I go, you know, I had Googled Robert Kiyosaki before, and Google said he was worth $80 million. That was his net worth. So I'm thinking, he doesn't need my little self-published book. Like, he's doing okay, right? Like, he's doing all right. I don't think, you know, so I'm like, I'm going to look desperate, like a goober, you know? So I'm talking myself out of giving him the book. And then thankfully, Wayne Gretzky shows up at the dinner. Not literally, but figuratively. Like, I thought about that quote. I just let everybody down. I'm so sorry. You know that quote, you miss all the shots that you what? Don't take. And that popped into my head, and I went, I got nothing to lose. Robert doesn't know who I am. Even if he throws the book away in the trash, nothing changes. But who knows? He might open it. He might remember me. So I approach him after dinner. I give him the book. I thank him for the impact he's made in my life. And 3 weeks later, I get an email from his assistant. She says, Hal, Robert's read The Miracle Morning 3 times in the last 3 weeks, which right there, what? And it's changed his life. He's doing it every day with his wife, Kim. And they want to have you on Rich Dad Radio to interview you. And I was just like, it was like, well, high point of my life at that point. I go tell my wife. She goes, who's Robert Kiyosaki? I was like, dang it. But so I do the interview. And here's the reason I share this story. One, it's one of my favorite stories. But if you're wondering, as we're about to go into the Miracle Morning, if this applies to you, right? Maybe I'm not a morning person, or I don't know if this will work for me, or I'm whatever the reasons are. When I created the Miracle Morning, you're about to hear the story of that, how it came to be. I was at rock bottom. I was not only at zero, I was at $52,000 in personal credit card debt. My house was being foreclosed on. And it transformed my life so fast, it felt like a miracle. When Robert discovered the Miracle Morning, he was worth $80 million, and it transformed his life. So if you're wondering if this applies to you, it's only if you're in between rock bottom and an $80 million net worth. And if you're in this range, this can transform your life. All right, so my second wake-up call, you'll see it says surprisingly worse than the first, which some people sometimes will go, but dude, you died the first time. Like, what happened? You could probably relate to this one a little more. The financial crash of 2008. I lost over half of my income. I couldn't pay my mortgage. My house was foreclosed on. I went from being a Dave Ramsey debt-free student to living on my credit cards and accumulating $52,000 in personal credit card debt in 6 months. I canceled my gym membership. I tripled my body fat percentage. I was scared. I was hopeless. Nothing worked. I didn't know what to do. Anybody around during 2008 that can relate somewhat to that? Wasn't just me. And then I heard a quote, and this quote became the catalyst that changed my entire life and literally helped me create the Miracle Morning. Jim Rohn said, your levels of success in each area of your life will seldom or rarely exceed your level of personal development, because success is something you attract by the person you become. And this is exactly what I talked about earlier when I said on a scale of 1 to 10, we all want level what? Level 10. So then this forced me to ask the question, okay, so if my level of success is not going to exceed my level of personal development, the question was, what's my level of personal development? And the way I define that, by the way, is that to me, personal development is who are you becoming? Right? What's your daily personal development ritual that enables you to become the level 10 version of yourself? What does that look like? And so for me, I wanted level 10 success. But when I asked, what's my level of personal development each day, it was like a 2, like maybe a 3 or a 4 on a good day. And I believe this is the disconnect for 90% of our reality, 99% maybe. Everyone wants level 10 success in each area of life. But if you ask them, how dialed in is your daily personal development ritual? Right? Most people might go, well, I read a little bit, or, usually that's the disconnect. And so the idea was, for me, I need to go create a level 10 personal development ritual that I can do every day to become the level 10 version of myself. And I ran home and I Googled best personal development practices. And I started going through article after article after article, taking notes. Then I Googled, what do millionaires do for personal development? Right? What do the world's most successful people do? I mean, on and on. I was just trying to find the best personal development practice. Practice, singular. It was almost impossible. In fact, I ended up with a list of 6 practices: meditation, affirmations, visualization, exercise, reading, journaling. I had this list of 6 practices. And I go, well, I don't have time to do all 6. Hard enough to fit 1 into my busy schedule. Which is the best? And I went back and I'm reading the articles. I found an article called, it was something like Fortune 500 CEOs who swear by meditation. So I was like, well, I got to meditate. And it was these, and I didn't think of it that way. I always thought of meditation, I would picture like monks in a monastery or something, right? Right? Like not Fortune 500 CEOs that were attributing their business and financial success to their meditation practice. So that article really sold me, like, I've got to meditate. In fact, you guys know who Ray Dalio is? He's a billionaire, one of the world's best investors. And if you ask, when he's been asked, what's the #1 key to your financial success? Not your spiritual success, your financial success. You guys know what he says? Meditation. It's his meditation, daily practice. It's where he gets his best ideas that skyrocket his income. It's how he lowers his stress, manages his mental state, right? All of it, meditation. It's like, well, I got to meditate. Then I came across a video of Ellen DeGeneres interviewing Will Smith. Now, this was pre-Chris Rock slap Will Smith, right? So it's like a different feeling, right? And I said, she asked him, Will, and at that time it was like he had the #1 movie at the box office. Fresh Prince of Bel-Air was like a top TV show, and he's like a Grammy Award, winning musician. She goes, Will, everything you touch turns to gold. You grew up middle class Philly. How did you become so successful? And he said, I learned about affirmations when I was 15 years old. And he said, I basically wrote down, I'm going off memory, but he said, I wrote down, it was something like, what I wanted in my life. Then I wrote down who I needed to be in terms of the qualities to achieve what I wanted. Then I wrote down, what do I need to do on a daily basis to become the person to achieve what I want? I was like, if it's good enough for Will Smith, I got to do affirmations. So I'm feeling overwhelmed because I go, well, I can't do all of these. And then I had an epiphany. I went, wait a minute. What if instead of picking one of these practices, what if I woke up tomorrow and I literally did the 6 most timeless, proven personal development practices that the world's most successful people across all walks of life have sworn by for centuries. All 6. I thought that would be the ultimate personal development ritual that would enable me to quickly become the level 10 version of myself to turn my life around. And I don't know about y'all, but like at that time in my life, I was desperate. I was so tired of struggling and waking up just stressed out about my finances. My marriage or engagement was struggling because I was such a mess, right? I was tired of looking in the mirror and feeling out of shape. Like I just wanted to change my life. And I thought, I'm willing to do it. I'm not a morning person, but I'm going to wake up 30 to 60 minutes earlier. I'll divide all 6 practices by the number, right? So that'd be 5 minutes per practice for 30 minutes. I did a full 60 minutes, 10 minutes per practice. I woke up the next morning. I didn't know how to meditate. I didn't know how to do affirmations. They felt really goofy and inauthentic, right? I am amazing. I am wealthy. Wait, no, I'm not. Right? Like it was super cheesy. But even going through those 6 practices as a total beginner, novice, not good, stumbling my way through, after that hour, I felt incredible. I thought, wow, if I start every day like this, with this much clarity and energy and motivation and drive, and I just get better every day, it's only a matter of time before I become the person that I need to be to create the success that I want in my life. And I thought it was going to be a year. Like that's the time frame I gave myself, the compound effect. I'll get 1% better every day. 1 year from now, I can turn things around. It happened in less than 2 months. In less than 2 months. Now keep in mind, this was in 2008. This was the height of the Great Recession. What do you think I had been blaming for where I was at in my life? The recession, the economy, right? And many people, again, we're conditioned to blame something outside of ourselves. Our brain literally looks for it. Wait, why do I feel the way I feel? Wait, why am I struggling? Wait, why, right? And we look outside of ourselves. It's like, no. What can I do to become the person that can thrive in this recession, in this economy, in this marriage, in this difficult situation that I'm in? And in less than 2 months, I more than doubled my income as the recession continued to get worse and worse and worse. But as I got better, I was able to double my income. I went from being in the worst shape of my life physically to deciding to run a 52-mile ultra marathon. I started training for it on day 1. And then, not on day 1 on Miracle Morning, sorry. I started training for it a few weeks later. I wasn't that quick. But within 2 months, I was training for it. And my depression did not take 2 months to go away. Because one of the main causes of depression, not clinical depression, I'm not a doctor, right? Just putting that out there. But we can all relate to this kind of depression where you feel hopeless because things are not looking like they're going to get better. And that's depressing. And that's where I was, because 6 months of declining, nothing I did was working. I was just getting further and further and further and further into debt. And I had lost hope. And I had lost confidence in myself. So I'm like, I can't turn it around. And so the very first miracle morning is when my mental health completely changed. Because like I said, I went, oh, wait a minute. This is a very different way to start the day. And if I start every day like this, it's only a matter of time before I become that person to turn my life around. And I went to my wife. I can picture it in the hallway. She was coming out of our bedroom. I was walking to find her, saw her. I said, sweetheart, I just signed on 2 coaching clients. We've officially doubled our income since I started doing that morning routine 2 months ago. I said, it feels like a miracle. She goes, it's your miracle morning. I go, yeah, I like that. Miracle morning. I didn't know it'd be a book though, right? But it was my miracle morning that I did every day. Then I taught it to my coaching clients. 13 out of 14 coaching clients said, I'm not a morning person. And then the next week, 13 out of 14 coaching clients came back and said, oh my gosh, this thing's changing my life, this miracle morning. And that's when the light bulb went off and I went, wait a minute. The miracle morning changed my life and I wasn't a morning person, and it's changing all of my coaching clients and they weren't morning people. I have a responsibility to share this with other people, with the world. And I started writing a book. I'm a slow writer. It took 3 years. The Miracle Morning eventually came out. I'm going to walk you through not just the savers, the 6 practices of the Miracle Morning. I know a lot of you have already read the Miracle Morning. You've come up to me on the breaks and last night and said, I do the Miracle Morning. I do it with my wife, right? You've said, I do the savers. I'm going to walk you through, whether you're brand new or you're a longtime Miracle Morning practitioner, the savers based on the new edition of the Miracle Morning book that comes out in December. 1 month and 1 week from today, I believe, it's December 12th, 12/12/2023, the new book comes out. And so I'm going to teach you all some advanced strategies that are coming out in the new book that aren't in any of the current books. So these are the 6 practices known as the savers. The meditation became silence, which is great because mavers would not have made any sense. Like, that's a terrible acronym. But silence could be your prayer. It could be your meditation. For me, it is both. And I think for many people, it is both. There are over 1,400 scientific studies that have proven the mental, emotional, and physical benefits of having a daily meditation practice. It could be as little as 1 minute to calm your nervous system, to get centered for the day. Or it could be 5 or 10 minutes or even longer if you want. You can do your own meditation practice where you're just sitting in silence. I mean, there's countless different styles and methods of meditation. I'm going to teach you one of them in a second. But you can also do guided meditation. So for example, there is a Miracle Morning app. In fact, you all should have this card on your table. It's a free app. There's also a premium version you can subscribe to. But in the free app, there is a guided Miracle Morning practice. It's an 11-minute practice that guides you through all 6 of the savers. So you literally hit play, sit down in your chair, and you don't have to know what you're doing. Lucy Osborne, the voice of the app, she just walks you through. Okay, we're going to start with your silence, and she'll guide you through a meditation. Then she'll guide you through affirmations and have you repeat after her. Then she'll guide, right? Then you'll get up for your exercise, right? But she'll guide you through the entire thing. So the point being, for your silence, it can either be you literally sitting there with a timer going for 5 minutes, or you can be doing a guided practice that's guiding you through that time. This is the new form of meditation. I've been doing this for a couple of years now. And I think I made it up. I don't ever like to take credit, because usually I'll take credit for something and then I'll, read a book written in like 1937 and I'm like, oh, I should stop taking credit for that. It was apparently written about 100 years ago. But this is what I've created that works for me. So here's the difference. Most meditations are like about clearing your mind, emptying your mind, following your breath, relaxing your nervous system. And that's great. And that's actually, before I even do this meditation, I'll usually spend a minute just calming myself, right? In the book, I walk you through the whole process. But the purpose of this is to condition your optimal mental and emotional state so they become your default states. So you literally can imagine having a genie. If I were like up here floating in midair right now, right? I'm a genie, and I said, I can grant you one wish, but it's a very specific type of wish. Can't give you like $1 million, or, I can't change anybody in your life, and those would be helpful. But I can enable you, I can give you the power to feel however you want to feel at will, right? And that's what this meditation does for you. You ask yourself, you identify the optimal state. What do I want to feel today? And it can be different based on the day. Like for me, the general state I want to feel is I want to feel blissed out. I want to feel blissful, which to me is happy and grateful. Like I just want to be happy and grateful. I just want to like really soak up this life, this one life I've been blessed to live. Sure, I got a gazillion things to be upset about and stressed about and worried about and frustrated about, right? We will always have those things. The question is, what kind of life? You get one life. What do you want it to be like? Do you want to enjoy it? Or do you want to always be stressed out, frustrated, and overwhelmed? Again, my car accident was an example that even in the midst of the worst circumstances in our life, we can choose to be at peace. And then from that place of peace, we can choose to be genuinely happy, grateful, blissful, whatever you want to call it. So what's your optimal state? Now, if I have a presentation I have to give, I might need, you know what? I need to embody confidence today. I got to get in front of an important client. I got to be confident. If it's Saturday morning, I want to be, my kids are going to come out of their bedrooms in an hour. I want to be in a really playful state. In fact, if you look at my social media on Instagram, I posted the other day, I said, if you do the miracle morning, you too can have these results. And it was a picture with me and my 2 kids, and I had a wig and lipstick smeared all over my face. And it's because one morning I set my intention. I was like, okay, what's something I could do today? I was in this playful state doing this practice, and I was like, what could I do today to exceed when my kids come out of the bedroom, to like blow their mind, have them laughing, falling over? What could I do? And like, that's what I was like, what do I put? I went to our Halloween cabinet, right? I put on a bunch of clothes and, you know, put lipstick, whatever. I don't normally wear that, to be clear. Now, there's anything wrong with that, but, you know, anyway. All right. So identify your optimal emotional state. Number 2, affirm and embody that state, right? And how do you do that? Well, in the book, I give a few different techniques, but one way is to ask yourself, when was the last time I felt blank, confident, happy, loving toward my spouse, playful, whatever it is? When was the last time I felt that? And then you can remember that and then get back in that state. And then number 3 is meditate in that state. Whether it's 1 minute, the longer you do it, the more it deepens in your nervous system. You create neural pathways in your brain to make that a permanent state. So you literally can transform your level of happiness from wherever it is now up here by doing this every day, or your level of confidence, or how peaceful you are. I coached somebody the other day on this. I was like, they said, my kids in the morning, I get so triggered, and they come out and they start fighting, and I get so triggered. She's a single mom. It was actually an event I was speaking at the other day. And I said, hey, remember that meditation practice I taught y'all in the speech? She said, yeah. I said, why don't you use that? Why don't you imagine your kids getting in the fight? You say they do it every morning, right? She goes, yeah. I go, so I want you to imagine that. And then I want you to practice being in a peaceful, loving, empathetic state. Whatever state you think you should be in that best serves your family in the morning. And I'll have to hear back how it goes for her, but she was excited. She's like, wow, I never thought of that. Yeah, you rehearse being in that state so that when it's actually time that you need to be in that state, you can go there easily. The next A in Savers is for affirmations. Now, affirmations, there's 2 reasons that I think they've failed most of us. Number 1 is lying to yourself doesn't work, right? If you're struggling financially, the old, well-meaning self-help gurus would tell you just tell yourself, I am wealthy. I am wealthy, until you believe it. But the truth will always prevail, right? If you know if you're broke right now and you go, I am wealthy, now you're creating another inner conflict as if we don't have enough of them, right? And your subconscious is like, no, you're not. You're like, shut up, I'm doing my affirmations. I am a millionaire. They're like, your bank account balance is negative. You're like, shut up, I'm doing my right. So that's not the optimal way to do affirmations. Number 2 is passive language doesn't produce results. What does that mean? You probably all heard this affirmation or some version of it. I am a money magnet. Oh, that feels good. Money flows to me effortlessly and in abundance. That's actually a popular affirmation. And I think the reason is it creates a little bit of delusion that feels good in the moment, right? Because if you look at your phone, you check your bank account balance and it's not where you want it to be and you're feeling stressed. You're like, oh God, I don't like the way I feel. I'm going to do my affirmations. I'm so stressed over my bank account balance. And you go, I'm a money magnet. Oh, that feels better. Money is going to flow into my life effortlessly. Oh, thank God, because I'm so tired of working. And in abundance and magically, everything's going to be better. Ah, that feels good. I'm going to do these affirmations for a while. I think that's why that has stood the test of time. But here's the thing. I don't know about y'all, but I personally, I'm practical, actionable, results oriented. For me, all of the savers have to be that. right? So do I want to feel better? Yes. But I want my affirmations to direct my thinking and then my behavior to generate results that will add dollars to my bank account balance. I don't just want to delude myself into thinking that I'm a money magnet and money's going to flow effortlessly into my life. So I'm going to give you all 3 steps right now to create affirmations that will produce real, measurable results. Number 1, affirm what you're committed to. What are you committed to? In life, you don't get what you want because you want it. You get what you want if and only when you are fully committed to that. So if you're not where you're going to be financially, but you say, I'm committed to doing everything in my power to increase my income and become wealthy, right? That's a very different statement than I am wealthy when you're not. I am committed to blank. No matter what, there is no other option. That's how I phrase that affirmation. I am committed to blank, no matter what, blank being whatever your outcome is, or your habit, or your behavior, or your way of thinking. I'm committed to blank, no matter what, there's no other option. Number 2, affirm why it's a must for you. What are the deeply meaningful reasons why you're willing to do whatever it takes, even if you don't feel like it, even if you're tired, even if you're not motivated, even if you're scared? What are the reasons that are so important to you that you'll overcome any obstacle? How is that commitment going to benefit you and your family and the people you love and the people that you lead? Have reasons that are so meaningful that you'll do whatever it takes. And number 3, which actions will you take and when you're committed to taking those actions? Right? So the first 2 steps are crucial, but if you only do the first 2, there may not be much that happens because you go, okay, I'm committed to becoming wealthy. And it's important because my family deserves me to provide that financial security for them. Awesome. And then you go about your day. Well, no. But what are you going to do to ensure that you follow through with that commitment? Because it is so important. So step 3 is where the rubber meets the road, as my coach used to say. Which actions are you going to take and when? And I'm going to give you a very real life example of how I use this affirmation that literally saved my life. In 2016, I was diagnosed with a very rare aggressive form of cancer, and I was given a 20 to 30% chance of surviving. Now, this was much more difficult for me than my car accident because now I had a family. At the time I was diagnosed, my daughter Sophia was 7, and my son Halston was 4. So I was being told that there was only a 20 to 30% chance I was going to be alive for them. Or on the other side of that, right, there was a 70 to 80% chance I was going to die. And they said I would die in the next 1 to 3 weeks. My heart was failing, my lungs were failing, my kidneys were failing. And I was scared, of course. What if I die? What if I do everything right and I still die? And so I created affirmations using this formula. Step 1, what I was committed to. I'm committed to beating cancer and living to be 100 plus years old alongside Ursula and the kids. No matter what, there is no other option. And when I felt fear, I recited those affirmations with such conviction and passion and energy that after a few weeks, it became my reality. There was no room for fear because I had affirmed, well, no. People go, are you afraid? I was, but I'm not anymore. Why? Well, because I'm committed to beating cancer and living to be 100 plus years old alongside Ursula and the kids. No matter what, there's no other option. What you commit to fully with every fiber of your being will become your new reality. Number 2, why it's a must for you. I had 5 reasons. I'm committed to beating cancer for Ursula because I promised her forever and a day. I'm committed to beating cancer for Sophia and Halston because they need their daddy's love, guidance, and leadership, and I want to watch them grow up. I'm committed to beating cancer for my mom and dad because they already lost a child and they don't deserve to lose another one. I'm committed to beating cancer for myself because I deserve to live a long, happy, healthy life. And last but not least, I am committed to beating cancer for the millions of people who are themselves battling cancer or some other disease and may not have been blessed with the knowledge and resources that I have. And it's my responsibility to overcome this so that I can help them on their healing journey. Those 5 reasons were the fuel that powered me to overcome anything. And on the days when I was exhausted from chemotherapy and I was throwing up and I was sick, and there were days where I didn't want to keep going. Like, it was so hard. I was like, I can't do this anymore. I'd pull out my affirmations. They were on my bedside table, and I would read them, and that became my reality. And I was like, okay, I'm going. I'm committed. I'm still going. I'm doing it one more day. I'm gonna go. Just take it on one day at a time. And then step 3, which actions will you take and when? I committed to do chemotherapy because I was told that's what I had to do, but I wasn't willing to leave my life up to the doctors. So I committed to relentlessly research, and do every holistic practice available to me. And I did. I took 70 supplements a day. I juiced every day. I ate an organic diet. I did ozone sauna. I did lymphatic massage. I did 3 coffee enemas a week. And if you don't know what that is, Google it. It's not comfortable. And I felt like, all right, I deserve to beat this cancer if I'm doing this 3 times a week. But if you look at that affirmation formula, I really believe that it saved my life. First, it got my mindset right. Then it fueled my why so that I would keep going even when I didn't feel like it. And then it clarified my actions. So I knew exactly what I needed to do and when I needed to do it to achieve the outcome that I was committed to. And you all can apply this to every area of your life. I mentioned that wheel of life earlier with the 10 areas. I have this for the type of dad I'm committed to being and the type of husband I'm committed to being. And I have it for my financial goals and my health and fitness goals. Every goal in my life, it follows these 3 steps. And I affirm every morning what I'm committed to, why it's a must, and which actions I'll take and when. The V in Sabers is for visualization. And there's a problem with the way visualization is taught by a lot of, I don't know, people that teach it, self-help gurus, if you will. First and foremost, consider that the world's most successful athletes swear by visualization. They visualize themselves performing at their best before they ever step onto the court or onto the field. And they're mentally rehearsing showing up at their best so that when it's game time, they're able to show up the way they rehearse showing up. If it works for them, it'll work for us. And so the problem with visualization, the way it's taught, is we're often only taught half of the equation, which is like, visualize what you want in your life. Make a vision board, which is a valuable activity, but not without the second piece that I'm going to share with you. And here's why. If all you do is visualize yourself achieving your goals, you're possibly going to trick yourself into thinking that it's a foregone conclusion independent of your effort. Because literally, you're showing your brain, oh yeah, I got it. How do you know you've got it? Well, I've seen it so many times. Well, what are you doing to achieve it? Well, I visualize it. Don't you have to do okay. Here are 2 steps to make visualization highly effective. Number 1, yes, visualize your ideal outcome because that's what fuels your drive to make it a reality. But number 2, mentally rehearse. And this is the most important part. Mentally rehearse yourself engaged in your necessary activities, whatever you have to do today, while putting yourself in a peak mental and emotional state. Give you an example. I've already said that I hated running. So when I started training for that ultra marathon, first I bought a book called The Non-Runner's Marathon Trainer. It's literally for people that hate running. How do you psychologically, which is kind of, I think about the Miracle Morning, it's about holding someone's hand mentally through the well, I don't want to do this. I don't think I can. I don't believe, I've never done it. And then getting them to no, you can do it. And here's exactly how to do it, right? That's what that book did for me. Whereas most marathon books are okay, you only run 3Ks. Here's how you run a marathon. Right? No, that wasn't me. So I was reading that book. And every morning I would visualize these 2 steps. I'd visualize crossing the finish line of the Atlantic City Marathon. And I would get myself excited and go, I'm going to do it. It's going to be great. I'm going to do it. And that fueled my desire. But the most important part was step 2. I would sit doing my miracle morning, and I'd have my phone. The timer was always set for 7 a.m., which is when I was going to go on my run for the day. And I'd sit there at, 6:30 doing my visualization, and I'd visualize the timer on my phone going off. I'd hear the beep, 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 and I'd visualize picking it up, turning it off, and putting it down. Again, I'm mentally rehearsing what I'm going to do that morning while in an optimal emotional state. I'd visualize then walking into my bedroom, getting dressed in my running clothes, and then walking out the front door of my house, opening the door, and then I would visualize while I'm sitting on the couch, all of this is happening. I'd see myself looking at the sidewalk in front of my house. And I would then pull out my affirmations that I had just read, right, a couple minutes before. I'd visualize and I'd say to myself, I'm committed to completing 52 consecutive miles on October 29th, 2009. No matter what, there is no other option. I'm doing this because it is the most difficult thing I've ever attempted in my life. And by completing this, it will enable me to become the person that I need to be to achieve everything else that I want in my life. In order to do this, I will follow the non-runner's marathon trainer training plan to a T every single day. I would say that as I visualize the sidewalk. And then I would visualize myself going for the run with a smile on my face, feeling excited. That was all done in about 3 minutes on my couch. Here's the beauty of it. When the alarm went off at 7 a.m., human nature was to do what? Not run. I'll run tomorrow. I don't have to, I'll just take this week off, right? Like, don't we do that, right? One bad day turns into 2, turns into, I never did that thing that I wanted to do, right? But I didn't mentally rehearse procrastinating. So what would happen when the alarm went off on my phone? It was almost like I was a robot in a good way. I would literally turn it, like without thinking, I would turn it off, go into my closet, get dressed in my running clothes, head out the front door, and as soon as I opened the front door, I was flooded with those affirmations and those positive thoughts and the excitement and the feelings to go for a run. And so I went for that run. Honestly, if it wasn't for my miracle morning, specifically affirmations and visualization, I think I would have dropped out. I think I would have backed out at some point. But again, it was one day at a time, visualizing myself doing the thing I needed to do to achieve the outcome that I had affirmed that got me to do it. And again, you can apply that to every aspect of your life. Anybody ever have a fight with their spouse? By the laughter, I'll take that as it sometimes. So, you know the rule. If you have a fight before bed, you're not supposed to go to bed angry, you're supposed to make up, right? Yeah, like that happens sometimes. But there are definitely some times where we go to bed angry. And this is how I use visualization to handle that. In the morning, I will use my mental rehearsal to visualize. I'll use my emotional optimization meditation, by the way, to feel loving feelings toward my spouse. And then I'll visualize her coming out of the bedroom. And I'll get myself in a peak state of feeling love toward her and empathy toward her and forgiveness and maybe even joy or playfulness. So I'm mentally rehearsing my ideal outcome before it happens. So now when she comes out of the bedroom, instead of having my default, which would have been the triggered that I felt before I meditated and did the affirmations and the visualization, right? I've already rehearsed greeting her in a loving way. So you can literally apply this to every aspect of your life, whether it's running a marathon, engaging with your kids or your spouse, doing the things at work to make you money as a real estate agent. You can apply this to every aspect of your life. The E in Savers is for exercise. You don't have to go to the gym in the morning. This is literally 60 seconds of jumping jacks, or do a 5-minute YouTube yoga video, or the Miracle Morning app has exercise videos in it, right? But you don't have to go to the gym in the morning. The importance is getting your heart rate up, getting the blood and oxygen to flow through your body into your brain so that you have more mental clarity and more energy to serve you throughout the rest of the day. The R in Savers is for reading. And you're all one book away from learning anything you need to learn to transform your life. Of course, The Miracle Morning, I think, is the best book for that. But if you want to be happier, there's a book for that, or like hundreds, right? You want to improve your income, you want to be a real estate agent, you want to, whatever you want to do in your life, right? There's a book for that, many of them. And we're all one book away from learning one strategy, one idea that can transform any area of our life, or like the Miracle Mornings, really in transforming your entire life. And the final S is for scribing, which is a fancy word for writing or journaling. But again, the acronym needed an S, so thank you, thesaurus. And here's how this is what I do for my scribing practice. There's 3 steps. Number 1, I ask myself, is there anything I need to let go of, right? Meaning anything I'm resisting, that I'm feeling emotional pain over, because I know that I'm self-creating it, because I'm not accepting it. So that's where I start, to really make sure there's nothing on my mind or my heart or my body that's causing me inner turmoil. And once you write it down, it's out of your head, it's in front of you, it's separate. Number 2, what am I grateful for? I write down 1, 2, 3 things that I'm grateful for. And here's the thing, it's quality over quantity. I put my hand on my heart and I feel a deep sense of gratitude. I don't just want to think it, I want to feel it. And number 3, what are my top 1 to 3 priorities for the day? That is where you optimize your productivity. Because I don't know about y'all, but I often have 10 things on my to-do list or more. And human nature, remember, is to gravitate toward the easiest things. Those with the least, I can just, if I check emails, I could check that off my list. Then I feel like I did something, right? For me, I look at it and I go, okay, I've got 10 things on my to-do list. What is the number 1 thing on this list that I've probably been putting off for a while that I need to get done that'll move the needle in my business or in my life more than any other? And I have to get that done first before I move to the second most important thing. So I use my scribing, which, by the way, is at the end of my Miracle Morning. So it's my transitioning into the workday to clarify my highest priorities and most valued tasks during the day. That's the Miracle Morning. It's made up of 6 practices known as the life savers. And I'll paraphrase Robert Kiyosaki at the end of our Rich Dad radio interview. He said, Hal, I think you named the book, you titled the book correctly, because he said, any one of the savers will change your life. But he said, my experience has been that when you do all 6, you experience miracles. I mean, it really is transformative. And it makes sense. If one of these will change your life, all 6 is going to give you profound, accelerated results in your life. All right, we're going to wrap this up with the Miracle Morning Journey. 30-day journey. I used to call it the 30-day challenge. But my friend was like, with the new book, we changed it to journey. He goes, Hal, people have enough challenges, dude. Don't give them another challenge. Plus, the Miracle Morning is a journey. People don't do it for just 30 days. They do it for, the rest of their lives. We have people that have done the Miracle Morning I've done it for 15 years. Other people in our community have done it for, 11 years since the book first came out. So anyway, it's the Miracle Morning 30-day journey. And here it is. It's simple. And I'm going to invite all of you. I'm going to challenge all of you. I'm going to encourage you to commit to this. Wake up 10 to 30 plus minutes earlier. If you want to do what I did and do a full hour, you can, but you don't have to. And science would say, research would say, you're far more likely to stick with it if you make it easier in the beginning. So 10 minutes earlier, do 1 or more of the savers. My recommendation is, if you haven't read The Miracle Morning yet, you can buy the book in the back of the room, in the hallway. And all you do is wake up 10 minutes earlier and do the R. Like you just read the book. And then when you get to the chapter on silence, the next day add silence in your Miracle Morning, right? So you're just slowly, gradually easing your way into it. Then you get the chapter on affirmations and add that the next day. And within a week or 2, you're doing a full-blown Miracle Morning in 10 to 60 minutes, whatever works for you, right? And you'll find it will transform your life and your results. And then number 3, the Miracle Morning app to simplify your savers and track your progress. Of course, that's optional, but you can see the App Store. It has over 2,000 reviews, 4.9 out of 5 stars. And if you have your phone, you can scan that QR code and it will take you to either the Google Play Store or the App Store to download it. And those cards are also on your table. And then really quickly, I have only one request, if you will. If you get the book in the back of the room, The Miracle Morning or The Miracle Morning for Real Estate Agents, right? You've got over a month to read it and start practicing it. But today, if you pre-order the new Miracle Morning Updated and Expanded Edition, you get over $199 in pre-order bonuses. You get a 60-minute master class that I recorded just as a bonus for this book. You get 2 guided meditation tracks that will pop up in your app only through the pre-ordering process. It's the Miracle Evening, which is your strategy for blissful bedtime and better sleep, and the Miracle Life, which those are bonus chapters in the new book. And you immediately get the first 40 pages of the new book digitally to read, including previews of the Miracle Evening and the Miracle Life chapter. So, and you can go to the newmiraclemorning.com to get all those bonuses, or you can scan that QR code either way. And thank you for your support. This book's been a labor of love for the last 18 months. And wait, one last, oh, thank you. I want to close with this. When I created the Miracle Morning, I was at rock bottom and it transformed my life, but it was about me because I needed to get myself right. Now that I'm a dad and now that I'm a husband, I've realized the Miracle Morning is not just about me. It's about me in the context of how I can show up for the people that I love and the people that I lead. And so as it says on the screen, I believe that the greatest gift we can give to those we love and those we lead is to fulfill our potential so that we can show them how to fulfill theirs. It's literally, it's putting the oxygen mask on first, starting every day in a peak physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual state so that you can show up and be the husband, the wife, the father, the mother, the leader, and the real estate agent that the people in your world deserve. And if we all do that, the world is going to be a very different, and in my opinion, a better place. So thank you all for being here. Thanks for being a part of this. I appreciate you so much.